Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. School board members, CCPS families, students, staff, and the Caroline County community. I, Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, Chair of the Board, would like to call the February school board meeting to order. It is my privilege to welcome those of you who are attending in person at Caroline Middle School, as well as those who are viewing on our CCPS YouTube channel. Each provides an avenue for you to receive information, have heightened education, awareness, and involvement. The school board is grateful for your attendance as we continue to move our school division forward in one direction as #OneCaroline. Again, welcome to the Caroline County School Board meeting for February the 7th, 2022. I would now like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Adam Swatton, Student School Board Representative. Mrs. Nancy Carson, representing the Mattaponi District. Mr. Sean Kelly, representing the Madison District. Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, representing the Reedy Church District. Dr. Sarah Calverick, Superintendent of Schools. Mr. George Spalding, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. Calvin Taylor, representing the Port Royal District. And I am Lisa Stevens, Clerk of the Board. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Spalding to please lead us in the invocation, followed by our Lotus Academy students who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, as we come here tonight to discuss and go over the things that we need to do for our educational system here in Caroline County, Lord, be with us. We just thank you for everything that you do, but be with us as we make right decisions, Lord. These things we ask in your Son's name. Amen. Amen. Attention, salute, flag.
Staff and students of Lotus Academy. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 7, 2022 agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Spalding,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mrs. Carson,
Aye.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells.
Aye, the motion carries. The agenda is approved for tonight. We will begin our school board meeting tonight with our Pathways 2022 Spotlight. Wow, what a journey. I'd ask that Ms. Haley and Dr. Reed would please come forward with our Pathways 22 Spotlight.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calverick. Dr. Reed and I are elated to share wow moments that were implemented, ignited, and completed along our 5-year journey through Pathways 2022, our strategic plan. Pathways 2022 has provided for the future a blueprint for excellence in education over the past 5 years. Tonight, we say wow for the wins, opportunities, and world-class achievements that have served as evidence and artifacts of growth for our school division. More specifically, we will focus on Goal 1, teaching and learning, which encompasses profile of a graduate, digital conversion, professional development, and student achievement. Objective 1.1, K-12, profile of a graduate. Our wows in Goal 1 attribute to high-quality, rigorous learning opportunities that promote innovative and personalized pathways for college and career readiness. CCPS provides equitable access to high-quality learning experiences that build knowledge, skills, and attributes necessary to excel in college, careers, and life. We call this being 3E ready, enrolled, enlisted, and employed. Starting in the elementary with the creation and implementation of Young Explorers and Innovation Workshop that provides an intentional opportunity for grades 2 through 5 students to model the 5 C's: communication, collaboration, critical, creative thinking, and citizenship skills in ways that have resulted in increased diversity in our gifted programs. We also have expanded the Career Exploration Program to elementary. All 5th grade classrooms are equipped with books focused on CTE programs that are offered at the secondary level. Growth in these areas have also included more robust and engaging career days at all 3 elementary schools that now involve community partner, junior achievement, and CHS Cavaliers engaging our elementary students in career explorations. But our creativity did not stop there. We established innovative hands-on STEM innovation labs at all 3 elementary schools, nurtured by innovation specialists, teachers, paras, parent volunteers, and Dahlgren engineers. At the secondary level, CHS shifted from a traditional career day with Life Ready Day, where over 79 sessions were facilitated by alumni business partners, CCPS employees, and community entrepreneurs. Other amazing programs that have followed our students to be college, career, and 3E ready include, but are not limited to, our new Lotus Academy, a rebranding of the former CDLC, the reimagined summer school to Summer Academy and Extravaganza, which embedded an extended day of academia, social-emotional learning, and high-interest activities. A tiered curriculum, social-emotional, and behavioral supports with the goal of students being more successful in school. We increase work-based pathways to include job shadowing, mentorships, co-ops, and experiential learning experiences. Key WOW partners include MC Dean, Value City, Bowling Green Rehabilitation Center, and Habitat for Humanity, just to name a few. Our winning partnerships and opportunities, yes, include MC Dean Co-op, where each year upon graduation, students receive not only a diploma, but a contract for employment. Experiential learner and mentorships at Bowling Green Rehabilitation Center provided the hands-on training required to resulting in 17 students receiving their CNA certification in year 1 of the program. Value City partners in teaching students employment skills and conducting mock interviews to help students demonstrate the power skills to land a job and maintain employment. And WOW for our connection with Habitat for Humanity, where our building trade students fabricated the walls in the first 5 homes constructed in Caroline County. WOW! These wins and opportunities grant our students a 3E ready profile. The addition of our career and technical education work-based learning assistant principal and communications and community engagement specialists have opened the door to further expand our partnerships, giving students greater access to experiential learning opportunities. World-class achievements include an increase in the numbers of students taking honors, advanced placement, dual enrollment, and CTE courses, while expanding diversity in our gifted programs, as well as at the Commonwealth and Chesapeake Bay Governor Schools. In addition to these amazing accomplishments, our students who have chosen the path of being enrolled have more than tripled their scholarship earnings in the past 4 years, from $2.4 million in 2018 to over $7.7 million currently. Wow. Students enlisted in our Army Junior ROTC program value citizenship, service, personal responsibility, and sense of accomplishment, giving cadets leadership opportunities while integrating academic curriculum in ways that create a more authentic learning experience. The JROTC program has motivated students to enlist in all branches of military and has positively impacted attendance, graduation rates, discipline, and GPAs, which are all wow moments. Our career and technical education clusters, including automotive, agriculture, building trades, cosmetology, culinary, criminal justice, business, and finance, nurse aid, sports medicine, and technology education, drafting design, are all award-winning programs. In 2020, the CHS CTE program was recognized as a top school in Virginia, Living Magazine, as noticed by the badge in the upper right-hand corner of this slide. Another wow. Dr. Reed will share more wow moments.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, and members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. I will continue with digital conversion. Caroline County Public Schools facilitates active and personalized learning through a blended environment powered by digital tools and an interactive curriculum. As a one-to-one division in grades K through 12, Caroline County Public Schools has the following wins and opportunities for all students. First, students have access to Chromebooks and iPads. Caroline County Public Schools has also provided blended learning opportunities that have enhanced teacher instruction and allowed students to increase their academic performance. Caroline County Public Schools has provided virtual options through a virtual academy in grades 3 through 5 and virtual Virginia in grades 6 through 12. Moreover, during the pandemic, Caroline County Public Schools enhanced its infrastructure to ensure that all learners had access to the internet. This included access to Wi-Fi in parking lots at all schools and buses, and Wi-Fi on trailers available in strategic locations throughout Caroline County. Not only did our school division provide remote learning opportunities, we continue to provide these learning opportunities on snow days as well. The technology team was instrumental in organizing and supporting schools to deploy hotspots and devices. This has led to our school division conducting remote learning days during the pandemic while providing tools and access that have enhanced quality instruction that has resulted in increased innovation from both teachers and students. Our school division has used this opportunity to further capitalize on opportunities to implement remote learning days on snow days as well. Professional development. Caroline County Public Schools utilizes a standards-based professional development model that incorporates learning communities, leadership, resources, data, learning designs, implementation, and outcomes. Our leadership team and instructional specialists have been a critical component of providing division and site-based training on best instructional practices in all content areas during remote learning, hybrid learning, and in-person learning. Professional development themes have included leaning in, lifting up, and leading forward. All learning is social emotional learning, trauma-informed care, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and be the one. In addition, professional development has helped to sharpen our knowledge regarding the profile of a Virginia learner, educator, and classroom instruction. Our content specialists, under the guidance of our directors, continue to provide job-embedded professional development to administration and instructional support, teaching and learning, as well as positive behavior interventions and supports. Our teaching staff in grades 3 through 12 grew adept in Schoology, our learning management system. We pride our work with our annual New Teacher Academy for first and second year teachers. Each month, instructional specialists meet with each new teacher to nurture their practice and skills and promote their increased understanding of the Caroline Way, grade-specific standards, and management. Finally, Caroline County Public School leaders receive an ongoing professional development through principal roundtables and assistant principal roundtables. In addition, our leaders receive mentorship through our ACI process. Our world-class achievement is leveraged by intentional and ongoing professional development through various forms that continue to filter into the classrooms pre-K through 12. These learning opportunities for staff include our instructional leaders team, professional learning communities, PLC Plus, summer leadership retreat, coaching roundtables, administrative check-ins, assistant principal and principal roundtable meetings, and a plethora of connections to initiatives from the Virginia Department of Education. In regards to student achievement, our wow starts with the increase in school accreditation from only 2 schools in 2016 to 2017 to having 4 fully accredited schools and 1 accredited with conditions currently. Our high school graduation rate has also significantly increased over the past 4 years from 87% to 92%, while closing achievement gaps among groups in reading and mathematics. Caroline Middle School has been accredited with conditions since the 2019 school year. Notably, both math and science exceeded the state standard for academic achievement. Currently, achievement gap groups indicators for math and English continue to be areas of focus with an emphasis on students with disabilities. Our big wow for elementary was in 2019 when all 3 elementary schools exceeded state standards in reading, math, and science. All schools improved in their chronic absenteeism. Quick wins and opportunities that have been implemented to address unfinished learning include ongoing remediation in the morning and afternoon, summer pop-ups in key locations throughout the Caroline community, extended summer school from 4 to 6 weeks this year using the successful and effective Summer Academy and Extravaganza model. Our PLC Plus enhancements and effective school support team meetings have allowed central office and building stakeholders to provide a strong focus on progress monitoring to provide the best student achievement outcomes possible. Our student achievement has been shaped by the development and implementation of an aligned, written, taught, and assessed curriculum based on college and career-ready standards. Our wow moments include not only in-person but virtual learning and a reimagined Lotus Academy and the implementation of a student school board representative. Thank you.
For this evening, we've shared some of the many wow moments within Goal 1, Teaching and Learning. We celebrate the impact of the many wins, engaging opportunities, and world-class achievements that we have experienced over the last 5 years. Stay tuned to next month as we spotlight wow moments from Pathways 2022, Goal 2, School and Community Relationships. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions or comments at this time? Hearing none, I would just say thank you, Mrs. Haley. Thank you, Dr. Reed. And what a wonderful presentation. I think that this is the story and the narrative that we need to make sure is told in our community to celebrate our wins. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to follow up that wow presentation with awards, recognitions, and commendations. And Ms. Haley, we ask that you would please stay at the podium this evening as we recognize Black History Month.
Great evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fales, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Black History Month is an annual recognition of the history, achievements, and influence of the African American community. In celebration, I am honored to stand before you on the shoulders of many who have come before me. And I invite Ms. Courtney Lander, History Instructional Specialist, to the podium to bring further recognition and share highlights within our great schools.
Thank you, Ms. Haley, and good evening. Caroline County recognizes February, Black History Month, as a time to educate one another, embrace histories, and extol the achievements that have enriched our community, commonwealth, and country. This year's theme, Black Health and Wellness, calls attention to the legacy of Black medical scholars and practitioners. The African American public has a rich past, a present drive, and a future vision for promoting Black health in all aspects of wellness. Such skills and self-determination have provided initiatives to build hospitals, medical and nursing schools, and community clinics. We pause to reflect in gratitude our African American friends, neighbors, organizations, and healthcare workers that have been supporting the physical, social, emotional, and spiritual wellness of our local community and beyond during the past, current, and future. Thank you for that. In honor of Black History Month and the many accomplishments of African Americans, staff at each school have created exemplar lessons and activities and selected read-alouds which encourage the celebration of Black History Month. Highlights across the division include, but are not limited to, the elementary school book walks from the Lovings, inspiring lessons from The Case for Loving, to 8th graders analyzing primary documents from the Supreme Court case, Loving versus Virginia, high school students entering their essays and art in the Library of Virginia's Strong Men and Women in Virginia History contest. Stay tuned to weekly posts on our CCPS Facebook as we recognize Black History Month and honor the contributions and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have Dr. Sarah Calvera come forward with the recognition of the VASCD Impact Award.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fales, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board. The VASCD Impact Award honors a teacher, administrator, and/or central office leader who continues to grow and learn as he or she works to promote learning for all students. A nominee must have a track record of excellence as well as a positive and meaningful impact on the achievement of others. Tonight, I am so pleased to share with the board and our school community that Mrs. Andrea Ross, Director of Federal Programs, was selected as a 2022 VASCD Impact Leader. Mrs. Ross, please come forward at this time. Mrs. Ross is charged with overseeing CCPS federal programs such as Title Services, McKinney-Vento, the homeless programming, and all CCPS preschool offerings. Never before has her role been more critical than most recently, as we as a school division began to maneuver through an international pandemic. Mrs. Ross's student-centered, knowledgeable, and communicative demeanor has helped us learn how to seek and utilize grant funding for the best use for students and staff. I would like to invite Mrs. Ross to join us tomorrow to receive a certificate not only from the school board, but the Virginia Association of School Curriculum and Development at a luncheon honoring all 2022 VASCD Impact Leaders. Congratulations, Mrs. Ross. We are so proud of you.
Congratulations, Ms. Ross, and you joined the illustrious list of Caroline County employees. I think Ms. Marcia Stevens has also won that award, and Dr. Monroe. Am I correct in that?
Mrs. Haley was the first recipient for Caroline County, and then Dr. Monroe. So we have a trifecta, which is unusual because there are so many so many submitted, and so it's really an honor.
That is wonderful. We honor you, Ms. Ross, on this evening. Dr. Calveric will now recognize the Caroline Education Foundation grant recipients.
At this point, I would like to begin by inviting anyone from the Caroline Education Foundation to please come forward and help me acknowledge and recognize our grant recipients. We do actually have 2 board members on the foundation, but I'm uncertain if anyone else was able to join us this evening. Thank you to Mrs. Carson and Mr. Spalding for joining. Good evening again, Madam Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. I am pleased to announce the 21-22 Caroline Education Foundation grant recipients on behalf of Dr. Monroe, who was unable to join us this evening. CCPS is blessed to have a partnership with the Caroline Education Foundation, whose mission is to develop and sustain community and business partnerships and serve as effective stewards of resources to create quality educational opportunities that promote high performance in all students in Caroline County Public Schools. The purpose of the CEF Innovation Grants is to encourage and reward innovative classroom instructional approaches supportive of our students' 3E readiness for employment, enlistment, and/or enrollment upon graduation. All submitted proposals were required to meet the following criteria: meet a compelling need, embed success logistics, promote efficiency and value, reflect innovation and engagement, and deliver results that demonstrate impact. 9 applications were submitted and anonymously reviewed by a 3-person committee. The committee members were Dr. Rebecca Broaddus, CEF board member and former CCPS assistant superintendent, Mrs. Therese Haley, Director of Elementary Education, and Mrs. Betsy Short, community member and retiree of Caroline County. The review committee used a scoring rubric to evaluate each grant application. 8 grants totaling $3,990.45 were selected for funding this school year. At this time, I would like to invite all of the Caroline Education Foundation board members to come forward to greet each grant recipient and award them with a CEF Certificate of Recognition. Our first recognition Congratulations to Mrs. Sandra Gilliam, Lewis and Clark Elementary School Reading Specialist, on her Sound Out chapter book submission. The goal of the Sound Out program is to ignite the love of reading by giving 450 students in grades 3 through 5 high-interest chapter books to read at home and at school. The objective and impact of this collaborative project is to achieve improved fluency, help with spelling patterns, and to support 1 year's worth of reading growth. We can't wait to see students with chapter books in their hands and smiles on their faces. Congratulations, Mrs. Gilliam. Our second candidate. Congratulations to Mrs. Brittany Kirby, K2 Reading Specialist at Lewis and Clark Elementary School, on her Decodable Readers proposal. The goal of this submission is to purchase the Dandelion Launchers Reading Kit to further instruct the students on various words and patterns. Ms. Kirby hopes that the implementation of the Decodable Readers will result in improved performance in reading and overall literacy, as this resource will be used during small group reading instruction. Congratulations, Ms. Kirby and the dynamic duo from Lewis and Clark. Our third recipient is Ms. Kimberly Kelly, CHS Media Specialist. We are talking about career exploration through ebooks submitted by Mrs. Kelly. The intent of the Career Exploration Through eBooks project is to provide students with resources for career exploration in order to meet the guidelines of the Virginia Department of Education's Profile of a Virginia Graduate in College Career Readiness. The use of ebook technology will provide a plethora of career and technical resources at the student's fingertips for future 3E readiness. Congratulations to Mrs. Kelly.
Mrs. Kelly is at home sick, so she asked me if I would please receive it in her honor.
So her partner in crime, our second media specialist, Mrs. Klein, is receiving on her behalf, and she also should remain standing because this next recognition is for you. Joy is the best way to describe Mrs. Patty Klein's reaction when we announced that her social emotional learning resources were approved. See the photo on the screen. The goal of Mrs. Klein's Social Emotional Learning Innovation Grant is to provide students with digital supports to aid in their social emotional learning needs through culturally relevant and inclusive audiobooks, printed books, and ebooks. These resources include supports for students with special needs and resources representative of the diverse families and cultures we serve in Caroline County. Congratulations to both Mrs. Kelly and Mrs. Klein. Our next recipient is Mr. Nicholas Raymer Stevens from CMS Music Teacher. The positive beat goes on with a big congratulations to Mr. Raymer Stevens for his Drummers Club submission. The mission of the Drumming Club is to teach middle school students critical thinking skills and self-expression through drumming, with the goal of enhancing their social and emotional wellness and sense of belonging. Mr. Raymer Stevens' goal is to use drumming as a way to enhance student success in music and in school, with the hopes of boosting attendance, improving behavior, and increasing academic performance from the participants in the club. Congratulations to Mr. Raymer Stevens, who I do not believe was able to join us this evening due to a family illness. Our next recipient is Mrs. Katie Anderson, Bowling Green Elementary Physical Education Teacher. Another wow and big congratulations to Mrs. Anderson for her Early Learners Fitness Grant to enhance and impact physical education, reading, and spelling for students in grades pre-K through 3. Mrs. Anderson will use grant funds to purchase the ELF program known as the Early Language Fitness, which is designated or designed to close developmental gaps by enhancing the whole brain through intentional physical movements, expressive language, vocabulary, and math integration. I want to come watch this in action, Katie. Congratulations. Our next recipient was unable to be with us, Miss Esther Park Kim, Bowling Green Elementary School preschool teacher. We know early intervention makes all the difference, and Miss Sade Pleasance, Bowling Green Elementary School Instructional Assistant, proposal titled Coding and Music in the Classroom will assist preschool and students with special needs with learning how to code using directions, connecting music notes to letters of the alphabet, and using notes to teach counting through the beats in the music. Teachers will use the Scratch Junior computer program to teach coding, music, reading, and math. We are so excited to engage our youngest learners in these innovative learning experiences. I know Ms. Park Kim isn't with us, but is the instructional specialist with us this evening? We will be sure to get that certificate over there. And I do believe I saw Mrs. Barbie Miller, CMS school counselor, here with us this evening. And last but not least, the Eagle has landed at CMS. Congratulations to Mrs. Barbie Miller, school counselor, for her robust Eagle Community Engagement Initiative. The goal of the Eagle Community Engagement is a call to action project to create a partnership between students, families, and community members. The program objective is to train select students to be peer mentors, ultimately promoting and enhancing respect for each other, their school, and themselves. Eagle Community Engagement consists of 3 stakeholder groups that will work collaboratively to enhance the school culture. Eagle Inspirations are students, Eagle Squad are parents, and Eagle Supporters are school board office members and community partners. We look forward to seeing this program in action. Congratulations, Mrs. Miller. CCPS would like to thank our Caroline Education Foundation partners. Congratulations to our award recipients. We look forward to seeing your innovation in action. Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of our Caroline Education Foundation grant recipients, and thank you to the foundation for your support of CCPS. We will continue our awards and recognitions with Dr. Calveric presenting the Superintendent's Art Honor for both January and February.
Thank you yet again to Dr. Rollins Fells, Mr. Kelly, members of the board. Exposure to art is critical to the development of every child. Art not only teaches students how to express themselves in creative and individual ways, but students who participate in regular art-related activities perform better academically, develop greater confidence, and sharpen their fine motor skills. Beyond these benefits, art education promotes problem solving, critical thinking, perseverance, growth mindset, collaboration, focus, and accountability. All Power Schools our graduates need to be 3E ready. Tonight, we are privileged to honor 2 schools. Our January recipient is from Madison Elementary School. Miss Harrelson, the art teacher, was unable to be here this evening, so I do invite Miss Teresa Hicks, school principal, to come forward to introduce Tanaya Montague as the January 2022 Art Student of the Month.
Fourth graders created a painting of a leaf motif. The leaf shapes were outlined with black and glue to emphasize line and shape. Students painted with liquid watercolor to add vibrant colors to the motif. Table salt, coarse and fine, was sprinkled on areas of wet paint, and the salt absorbed the paint as it dried. Its a dappled, crystallized effect was created as a result. Tanaya showed a mastery of her skill in her beautiful leaf motif painting, and she also had fun making art. Congratulations.
Our February art students of the month are from Lotus Academy. And now I would invite Mrs. Darlene Keener, Dean of Lotus, to the podium to share the accomplishments of these students.
Good evening. Tonight we are so excited to honor two gentlemen whose art tonight not only reflects their artistry as they created Lotus flowers, a little bit larger than we made last time we were together. They worked hard on those, but what it really reflects is surrounding their artwork, the words that describe them this year. This is Dylan Jones. Dylan had a rough year last year with an immediate family member passing away, with dealing with the COVID and the connection issues, and he actually is completing 2 school years at Lotus Academy this year and will graduate in May. And our next gentleman is Hunter Bradshaw. Hunter created a very similar artwork, and his artwork around his lotus flower represents words that represent him. He has dealt with some family relocation, several different states of moving around, and joined us in Caroline County Schools this school year and had to gather up all those credits and is working hard, and he will be a May graduate, and he is doing that at the same time. His boss is representing him tonight. He works almost full-time in your community with landscaping, so very proud of Hunter also.
Those 3 students are wow moments. They belong in that spotlight that we did at the beginning of the meeting. Congratulations.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. And congratulations to all of our art honors. And Lotus Academy is on fire tonight. So thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time. At this time, Dr. Calveric will recognize the School Board and Clerk Appreciation Month.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. Tonight, I do indeed have the privilege to salute the service of our very own CCPS School Board and the almost 850 school board members in Virginia, as February 2022 is School Board Month Appreciation. The theme, Building the Future of Public Education, reflects the partnership of the Virginia School Boards Association with local school board members as they serve their local divisions and advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders on behalf of all students. The month-long observance is an opportunity to build a stronger understanding of the crucial role school boards assume in a representative democracy. School boards voluntarily tackle the enormous job of governing multi-million-dollar public school divisions while preserving the core of our democratic values. We appreciate your dedication, service, and time. We celebrate you for the many hours and personal commitment, not always seen by the public, but produces a legacy of quality education for students of Caroline County Public Schools. While we are not able to provide your tangible gift this evening, we hope that as it arrives, you will enjoy some new CCPS clothing that you can don proudly throughout the Commonwealth. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Calveric. And thank you, Lisa Stevens, for all that you do on behalf of Caroline County Schools as our board clerk.
Dr. Rollins-Fells, would you please come forward so we can recognize our clerks? Good evening. One more time, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. The VSBA Board of Directors has designated the 3rd week in February as VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, with a goal of building awareness of the role board clerks play in assisting school board members, superintendents, and our local schools. Recognizing local school board clerks for a job well done takes a concentrated effort on the part of all those they serve: school board members, superintendents, administrators, school staff, students, and the community. community. It is especially important this year to take a moment to thank our school board clerks who have remained attentive and ready to help throughout the barrage of changes we've experienced. Thank you to our CCPS school board clerk, Mrs. Lisa Stevens, please come forward, and our deputy clerk, Ms. Terry Harrison, for their service to the board and the division. Your role is vital, and we appreciate your stellar work.
That concludes our awards, recognitions, and commendations for this evening. We've had a lot to celebrate, and so we will now move on to the business of our school board meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor? Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. The next section of our agenda is information from the district. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Wick to please come forward for our monthly COVID-19 update.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, the rest of the school board, and Dr. Calvaric. This evening, I will provide you with our monthly COVID-19 update for Caroline County and CCPS. Specifically, I will review COVID data and provide updates on school vaccine percentages, legislation, and the latest isolation and quarantine guidelines. We will begin with positive case numbers. As of today, Caroline County Public Schools has experienced a total of 734 cases, with 614 of those being students and 120 staff. You can see the breakdown by school and school board office, with IT, maintenance, and transportation included in the latter category. Regarding quarantines, also including today's numbers, CCPS has experienced 2,346 quarantines. That number has been updated since earlier today. Well, correction, that includes students and staff. So students are 2317 and staff is 29. And 48 students have later tested positive, which amounts to 2.0% of all the quarantines. Looking at our primary indicators, the percentage of PCR positive tests as of February 3rd, which is the latest date for which the CDC has provided data, is 25.0. Comparing this to last month, it was 51.4 at the last school board meeting. This is still in the high transmission or red category. As of today, our cases per 100,000 is 329.2. Last month, it was 1,418.1. This also puts Caroline in the high transmission category. This number indicates that Caroline County had 101 positive cases from February 1st through today. For PCR positivity, our peak during this period of high transmission was 52.8, which occurred on January 11th, while cases per 100,000 peaked at 1,545 on January 14th. So, while our current numbers remain in the high category, they have greatly improved over the last few weeks. The vaccine update includes the percentage of vaccinated students aged 5 through 18 in Caroline County Public Schools. This bar graph shows the percentage of fully vaccinated students in blue and those with 1 dose in green. So for fully vaccinated students, at Bowling Green Elementary, 5% of students are fully vaccinated. At Caroline High School, it's 42%. Caroline Middle has 26%, and both Lewis and Clark and Madison Elementary have 7% of their students fully vaccinated. For 1 dose, Bowling Green Elementary has 2%, Caroline High 4%, Caroline Middle 6%, Lewis and Clark 4%, and Madison Elementary 3%. We will briefly review several pieces of legislation. Excuse me. The emergency temporary standard issued by OSHA was blocked by the Supreme Court on January 13th. Therefore, the vaccination or weekly test requirement for staff is no longer a consideration. To review SB 1303, this state law went into effect on July 1st, 2021. It had 2 key provisions. 1, schools were required to provide in-person instruction, and 2, schools had to follow to the maximum extent practicable current mitigation strategies put in place by the CDC to reduce COVID-19 transmission. This law was the basis for requiring masks indoors in K-12 schools, and it expires on August 1st of this year. Executive Order 2, on January 15th, Governor Youngkin issued this executive order, which states the following. It rescinds Executive Order 79, Public Health Emergency Order 10, VDOE's and interim guidance for COVID prevention in schools. It states that parents may elect for their children not to be subject to the mask mandate, and it states that parents are not required to provide a reason for their children not wearing a mask. I also want to remind you that EO2 does not apply to school buses, as federal legislation requires masks on public transportation, and school buses are considered public transportation. As of February 2, 53% of school districts are still requiring masks inside schools. At the same time, there have been several lawsuits in opposition to Executive Order 2. In the first, 13 parents in Chesapeake filed a lawsuit on January 18th with the Virginia Supreme Court due to masking requirements in SB 1303. Also, a lawsuit was filed on January 31st by parents with students in the special education program in conjunction with the ACLU. And thirdly, 7 Virginia school divisions filed a lawsuit in mid or late January, and on February 4th, the Arlington Circuit Court weighed in on this lawsuit, and it has issued a restraining order against EO2, meaning it cannot go into effect. NBC 12 reported this on Friday, and the story can be found on its website. The first 2 lawsuits are still pending. In late December, the CDC issued additional guidance related to isolation and quarantine. Based on that guidance, CCPS will institute the following changes. For positive students, though new guidance permits 5 days of isolation with improved symptoms, students must be kept 6 feet from others during days 6 through 10 because they are still considered to be infectious. Since this isn't feasible with students should continue to isolate for 10 days from symptom onset or a positive test, whichever is earlier. Since staff members can feasibly remain 6 feet from others on days 6 through 10, staff will now complete a 5-day isolation period with the following caveats as issued by the CDC. First, their symptoms have improved. Also, they are fever-free for 24 hours without the use of medication. And in addition, they will wear an N95 mask for days 6 through 10, which will be provided by CCPS. I'd like to thank Caroline County Fire and Rescue for providing N95 masks for this purpose. As a reminder, symptom onset or the positive test is day 0. This brings us to close contacts. Close contacts can now quarantine for 5 days instead of 7 days if they meet one of the following. Those who are unvaccinated, individuals 18 or older who are vaccinated with Pfizer or Moderna and have not gotten a booster, individuals who were vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson over 2 months ago and have not gotten a booster. However, those who cannot consistently and correctly wear a mask must isolate for 10 days. Quarantine for 10 days. The following close contacts do not have to quarantine at all. Individuals 18 or older who are fully vaccinated and have received the booster. Individuals aged 5 to 17 who are fully vaccinated, the booster is not required for that age group. And individuals who have had COVID within the last 90 days. For ending isolation, which applies to positive people, the following applies to both the 5 and 10-day isolation period. They still must be fever-free for 24 hours without the use of medication, and they must have improved symptoms. That excludes the loss of taste and smell, which can last for months. For ending quarantine, which applies to close contacts, individuals have 2 options. As we mentioned, they can come back after 5 days. However, they must have a negative test on day 5 or after and return on the next day. If they choose not to test, close contacts will still have to return on day 11. Contact tracing has also been changed based on guidance provided by the CDC and the Virginia Department of Health. CCPS is applying a scaffolded approach to lessening our contact tracing practices. As conditions and updated guidance related to the virus change in accordance with current medical practice regarding communicable diseases in general, I will recommend further adjustments to this procedure. The following aligns with CDC and VDH recommendations. Contact tracing will cease for individual cases. This is due to the number of days students miss from school. As the year progresses, more students are quarantining for the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th time. Also, as mentioned earlier, only 2% of close contacts identified in school have later tested positive. Again, that was 48 students out of 2,317. CCPS will contact trace outbreaks only. An outbreak is defined as 3 or more connected cases or 10% within a group over a 14-day period. For example, in a class of 24 students, 3 would be the benchmark. However, if we looked at a grade level or a large athletics team, 10% would become the measure. Along with this, CCPS will continue the various mitigation measures it has in place, such as providing hand sanitizer, maintaining the maximum distance practicable, and mask wearing. To summarize, CCPS is modifying contact tracing procedures by only looking at outbreaks, altering the isolation time for COVID-positive staff, and reducing quarantine time for close contacts who get a negative test result. In addition, CCPS will continue to monitor court cases, Caroline County COVID cases, and CDC and VDH recommendations. Thanks for your time and your attention to this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Wick. Thank you for your monthly COVID-19 update. We'll look forward to your presentation on next month.
You're very welcome.
A question?
You have a question?
Yeah. With all those rules that you read out, Dr. Fauci couldn't even keep track of that. How,
I'm smarter than Dr. Fauci, so I can keep track of that.
Thank goodness. But my point is, it seems to me like a lot of our students are sent home quarantined just for being in the area or around them close and this sort of thing. And they're more or less being punished because of that. And if they have masks on and the person that tests positive has a mask on, I don't understand. To me, that's contradictory.
It may be, but this is exactly why we're going to reduce the quarantines for these close contacts, because we don't want to punish kids anymore if they're not showing symptoms, and they can continue to come to school at that point. Again, the only time we'll contact trace is if we have an outbreak within a classroom or maybe within a grade level or an athletics team. So it's going to be beneficial for, this change will be beneficial for those students. They won't have to quarantine as we have been doing up to this point.
I hope so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. We'll now ask that Mrs. Foster would please come forward with our classroom coverage compensation update.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight, I will be providing information associated with compensation for classroom coverage for unfilled positions which enables supervision and safety of learning for our students. At our January board meeting, I communicated that we will continue to revisit the ability to provide this compensation on a monthly basis based upon financial capacity. Tonight's information will meet the following objectives. I will provide an overview of data associated with compensation, provide an update on available ESSER funds, and provide information associated with compensation for classroom coverage in February. At the last board meeting, information was provided about total compensation being paid out at the approximated $52,722.74 for an 8-week window. However, noteworthy, only 6 of those weeks were days in session that would require a substitute. Additionally, information was provided regarding an adjustment to compensation to allow sustainment of payment. Please note that initial projections in October, when the compensation program went into effect, was that monthly cost would be approximately $20,000. During the presentation, information was provided to an adjustment in compensation to allow continuation for this benefit. Licensed teachers assigned to provide coverage during their planning period will continue to receive compensation at $25 an hour, while paraeducators who are acting in the role of a teacher would receive compensation to equal $25 an hour. This means a para would receive their hourly wages plus additional monies for coverage to equal $25. Before reviewing money spent, I wanted to provide you numbers associated with unfilled teacher and para positions from the past 4 months. During October, there were 290 unfilled vacancies. November, 315. December, 187. And this past month, January, 248. On this slide, you will see a bar graph of compensation associated with classroom coverage to provide supervision and to support these unfilled vacancies. From the pay period of October 10th to November 6th, $17,502.47. November 7th to December 4th, got to look up there in my reading glasses. $35,242.55. And December 5th through January 8th, $15,380.42. When looking at total funds, this is actually 34% of the allocated funds that have already been spent from October until present. To give you another visual of compensation by pay period, compensation associated with classroom coverage to provide supervision and support for the unfilled vacancies that had been paid out. So during that pay period, when we began compensation in October, we started with $200,000. We then spent $17,502.47. From November to December, $35,242.55. And from December to January 8th, $15,380.42. So you can see that our compensation continues to decrease. We have about $131,000, $131,874. It's on my next slide. Thank you, Lisa. Again, my apologies for not bringing my glasses up this evening. Currently, we have approximately $131,874.56. As seen in the earlier slides, this does not account for the time sheets that were submitted in January, which had 248 unfilled vacancies. Based upon current financials, we will continue to maintain the current rate for compensation while seeking to determine any additional ESSER funds that may need to support any future payment during this school year. At this point in time, we need to continue to monitor the ability to compensate for coverage on a monthly basis, and I will be providing you reports for the remainder of the school year. At this time, do you have any questions?
Comments, questions? Okay, thank you for the update. We'll see you next month for next month's update. At this time, I'd call Marcia Stevens forward for our monthly update on revenues, expenditures, and ADM. Mrs. Stevens?
Good evening, Chair Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and Dr. Calveric, and members of the board. I'm here to present a January 2022 financial report and also give you a few brief notes along the financial lens. We are currently with revenues for the month of January at $6.6 million, or 27.5 year-to-date at 58.03%. For our special funds, we're at $603,000, 2.6 year-to-date, or 17.17%. For our revenues for all funds, we're at $7.2 million for the month, $30.1 million for the year, and 48.13%. For our expenditures, we're at $3.7 for January in operations funds, $23.4 million year-to-date, and 49.4%. For our special funds, we're at $900,000 for our month, 9.5 million year-to-date, and 22.88%. So our total for expenditures for all funds is $4.6 million for the month, $27 million for the year, and 42.97% for the year for expenditures. As of today, we only have July reports still on the financial system. We have not been provided additional reports to reconcile at this time. The FY22 budget has been loaded into the county's new financial system with a few differences that have been reported and noted back to them, and I have offered to meet with them to reconcile those differences. And the RFP went out for audit services. This past year was the last year of the audit contract. I asked them to include our school activity funds. Now that the school activity funds are included on the consolidated annual financial report, it would make sense that we have have the auditor do both. So they have included that in their RFP. I will serve on the evaluation committee, and they plan to take a recommendation to their board on March 8th. We can continue to go with our current auditor if we should need to. However, if it makes sense in the evaluation process that we remain with the same auditor as the county, then we will move forward in accepting that also. We would still be responsible for paying our school activity fund audit as we currently do and is currently budgeted. Are there any questions on the financial update?
I have a quick question. It's more on the county side. Do we have any indication as to when the new system will be fully online?
I do not.
Okay. All right. That just has an impact on us being able to reconcile.
It does. If I recall correctly, I believe they were said they were going to be running dual payrolls in January. So it should, depending on how everything's going, it should be online soon.
Okay, but we are reconciled to July
Yes,
as
ma'am.
of today, February. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. With no other questions, I will move to the ADM report. For the January ADM, we did see a decline. We had 14 days with a little bit of snow that was happening in January, so we were at 4069.214. However, our year-to-date is still running at 4,098, so we are still hopeful that we will have above our budgeted number of 4,010, which still also aligns us with what we're looking at for projecting FY23 ADM. Are there any questions on the ADM report?
No? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens. At this time, the board will now open our floor to citizens' comments. Our citizens' comments period, we do have rules that all citizens should be complying with. Each of you will have 3 minutes to speak at the podium here below. There is a light indicator here with our school board clerk. It will turn yellow when your time is almost up. We do ask that you would please respect the red light and stop at the end of 3 minutes. You are entitled to speak on your own behalf. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, you need to provide certification that that group has endorsed you to speak on behalf of them. At this time, I will look to the school board clerk to see if there are any citizens who have signed up for comments tonight.
Madam Clerk, none signed up prior to the meeting, but I do want to make note that we do have 3 written comments that came into the clerk's office this week and last, and they've been provided to you, and I just wanted to document that on our YouTube channel that they have been presented to you for reading at your after this meeting. But now we can open the floor.
Yes, all board members acknowledge the receipt of the comments. At this time, is there anyone present in the audience today who would like to come forward for citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am, you may come forward. We ask that you would sign in, state your name and your voting district.
Good evening. I do just want to, sorry, I've never done this before.
It's okay. Can you state your name for me, please?
My name is Morgan Ennis, and I'm in the Bowling Green voting district. I want to, I'm a parent of a Bowling Green elementary husky and a former elementary education teacher. The last 2 years have been hard. I'm speaking on behalf of parental rights and how much I hold strong to those. It's been hard for teachers and school staff. It's been hard for students and hard for parents. And as a parent, I've watched my child walk into school with a mask on his face, unable to show his smile to his peers and teachers. He's been unable to read lips and appropriately develop his speech and language the way children did prior to 2020. You see, masks have not only taken away the ability to perceive emotions, but they have also increased anxiety and fear, and I've seen that firsthand with my son. The data is there. Kids are the lowest transmitters of COVID-19, yet it's our kids who are being the most affected. Hear me when I say this. My child is more than a number. He is more than a dollar sign and way more than that average $2,000 the district receives for COVID relief per student. If you state that you're following the law, let's look at the Code of Virginia, where it states the rights of parents. A parent has a fundamental right to make decisions concerning the upbringing, education, and care of the parent's child. SB 1303, in which so many have referenced, states to follow CDC guidelines. The CDC recommends masks. A recommendation is not a law or a mandate, it is merely a suggestion. I can recommend you wear sunscreen, but I can't make you. I want to remind you that you're in an elected position. You have the responsibility in voting the way your district would want to. So here's what I ask you. Will you stand up for parental rights? I know my child better than his school, his doctor, or any of you. I know what's right for my child. The parent that's arguing they want masks for the entire population doesn't know my child. They can choose to send their child in a mask, but please let my child breathe. I also want to let you know that more recently, just before I came here, the Supreme Court of Virginia rejected the Chesapeake case so there's that update as well. Also, I wanted to say one more thing. Because we're not in a state of emergency, my husband, who is he's deployed overseas, sent you his letter, so I encourage you to read that. He took some time when he had other things to do on deployment to stand up for our child as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who has a citizen's comment on this evening? Is there anyone else who has a citizen's comment on this evening? Is there anyone else who has a citizen's comment on this evening? Hearing none, the citizens' comment period is closed. We will now move forward with our action items for this evening. I'd ask Mrs. Karen Foster to please come forward with our transportation compensation report.
Good evening once again, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. This evening, I return with my glasses on to provide additional information and funding options to meet our goal of increasing compensation for transportation, bus aides, car drivers, and bus drivers. To recapture the transportation challenges at the local, state, and national level, more than halfway through the school year, driver shortages continue to plague school divisions, causing increased hardships for both school divisions and families. Recently, news outlets have been reporting major delays to and from school, requests for National Guard assistance, and shortages that are widening, as well as bus cancellations. Since our last meeting not too long ago in January, CCPS had a hiring event on the 20th, at which time we had 3 applicants who came in for initial interviews. All of them may be eligible to be offered a position contingent upon their background check as well as their reference check, and one of the candidates has a CDL license currently. Noteworthy, through recruiting efforts in November as well as January, we have been able to bring on and put into a bus 2 drivers that have a CDL and are already driving their routes. Within our transportation department, we currently have 72 drivers of the needed 87 for our division, leaving 13 vacant positions. We have 3 aides and 5 of the 6 mechanic positions filled, with 1 vacant position resulting in additional strained and prolonged turnaround time to maintain and repair our fleet. As you recall from the information presented at the November school board meeting, CCPS driver compensation ranks last when compared with 16 surrounding counties, with the starting hourly rate of $13.60, when the 16 divisions starting pay is averaged at the rate of $17.15. Again, a review of information previously brought to you. Tonight, we continue to propose compensation increases at the following rates. Starting rate pay for aides and drivers adjusting their associated scales. Bus aides from $12.26 to $12.75, car drivers from $12.89 to $14, and bus drivers from $13.51 to $16, noticing that the percent increase gets higher as skills and responsibilities are increased due to position demands. Please note that there are 19 employees that will have little or no impact due to the fact that they were already above the scale, which was changed several years back to where they were continuing to be above the scale when they got the COLA and no steps until scales will catch up with them. Tonight's proposed investment in our transportation personnel increases annual cost to $123,000 when we are fully staffed. This evening, the proposal is to provide $77,000 beginning February 1st for the remainder of the school year. After several months of hard work, we were looking for the ability to support compensation. I am delighted to share that the following funding sources have been identified since our last meeting. We were notified that we were awarded $13,682.33 of the requested $50,000 from the transportation grant. Noteworthy when reviewing awards, this amount seemed to be consistent with divisions that were similar in size to Caroline County Public Schools. In the month of January, clarification was provided to school divisions that ESSER monies could support transportation needs. We have also identified $66,317.67 in ESSER 3, which we will addend to be able to meet the investment of $77,000 to raise starting pay for transportation drivers, aides, and car drivers, bus drivers, and aides. I am pleased to report that these identified funds would be able to support the request for increase in starting pay effective February 1st, 2022 for the remainder of the 21-22 school year. Moving forward, the cost associated in FY23, which will be $165,380, has already been built into the baseline budget for sustainability. So conversations beginning in November, coming to February, I am delighted once again to say that we have found the funding sources, and I ask you to consider approving this request this evening. At this time, do you have any questions?
I do. I have several friends who work wonky schedules and are interested in not being a full-time bus driver because of the conflict, but they're interested in being a substitute on their days off. So is it fair if I say they were going to get paid the same hourly rate as the other bus drivers if they're subbing?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And a point of clarification, this action item, supposing that someone will make a motion to approve it, will adjust our starting salary, but also adjust the salary rate of those who are currently employed?
Yes.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the transportation compensation as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second. Any further discussion?
Would just like to say thank you for the work on behalf of the bus drivers. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It has been a work between departments as this has been a priority with transportation, finance, instruction supporting this, because if we can't get our kids to school, then they're not in the classrooms learning. So it has been a true collegial effort cross departments within our division. So thank you.
Thank you as well. I would just like to reiterate that this has been a priority for the board, and thank you for identifying a feasible funding source, which was our recommendation and request. Hearing no further discussion, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries for our transportation compensation.
Thank you so much.
At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Connor to please come forward with an update on our wellness policy, JHCF.
Good evening. Did I get that lined up right? There we go. Good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, get my names correct this evening, Dr. Calveric, and members of the board. This evening, I come before you requesting approval of a revision to the Student Wellness Policy, JHCF, as you had mentioned. During a recent federal audit, the auditor had requested that we make some minor revisions to our existing policy that would allow us to incorporate some already existing rules into that policy. So if you've had an opportunity to review that, you'll see that we've had a couple of minor verbiage changes, as well as two additions. One references smart snacks, and the other references fundraisers. Do we have any questions on the revisions that they have requested of us?
I would just point out to the board that this is under action items so that we can be in compliance with the 30-day request from the audit.
Yes, ma'am.
And so this does require a motion to approve the policy updates.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly second. I think I heard Mr. Taylor on the second, Mr. Kelly on the motion. to approve policy JHCF as presented as it relates to wellness. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The policy is updated. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Connor. The next item on our action portion of our agenda is our school board consideration and approval of the FY23 proposed operational budget. I'd ask at this time that Dr. Calveric please come forward with our detailed presentation.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. Mrs. Stevens, Chief Operations Officer, and I are pleased to be with you this evening to present the proposed FY23 school operations budget for school board approval. 5 major objectives will be achieved during the budget presentation. Objective 1, building FY23 budget context. Objective 2, an overview of the state budget. Objective 3, CCPS FY23 budget priorities. Objective 4, budget financials associated with revenues, expenditures, and special funds. And step 5, next steps. The CCPS budget development process is deliberate, aligned, inclusive, and transparent. Familiarity with various internal and external factors that were considered when developing this budget will heighten your understanding of this evening's FY23 proposal. First, the process. With the goal of being transparent and inclusive, the CCPS budget development process reflects a multifaceted approach which spans months, specifically October 2021 through May of 2022. From submission of budget priorities to prioritization by a variety of advisory groups, to lobbying and legislation, to staff budget tours, to collaboration with local government officials, the school division is fully committed to developing and delivering a needs-based operations budget reflective of stakeholder voices. The foundation of this CCPS budget is our 5-year strategic plan, Pathways 2022, which serves as the filter for all decision-making and fiscal appropriation. The 4 overarching goals of teaching and learning, school and community relationships, health and safety, and organizational effectiveness guide the division's daily work and help to ensure alignment of financial resources with the school division's identified needs, goals, and objectives. Celebrating successes is the outcome of this intentional planning, action and adjustment, progress monitoring, and strong fiscal stewardship. And certainly in the time of a global pandemic, it has been essential for CCPS to remain vigilant with our continued focus and improvement of teaching and learning, school and community relationships, health and safety, and organizational effectiveness. This visual portrays just a handful of the WOW 21-22 school year successes strategically aligned to Pathways 2022 and supported by the FY22 operations budget and various pandemic-related funding. Specifically, Goal 1, Teaching and Learning. The establishment of the first ever 3-year-old preschool classroom, the expansion of summer school to Summer Academy, which also included an afternoon experiential learning called an extravaganza, continuation of virtual offerings through the CCPS Virtual Academy for grades 3 through 5, and partnership with Virtual Virginia for grades 6 through 12, the opening of Lotus Academy, which provides short and long-term educational opportunities for at-promise students requiring a more individualized educational pathway. Goal 2, relationships. The addition of a communications and community engagement specialist, an increase in community partners in education, the development of the monthly CCPS Express newsletter, the addition of a family engagement coordinator at every school, and use of grant funds to build and deploy 6 Wi-Fi trailers throughout the community to support access to reliable internet. Goal 3, health and safety. Caring for you in 21-22 tours outlining pandemic-related supports such as EAP or Employee Assistance Program for All, YMCA exercise classes, the Church Adopt a School project and voluntary prayer groups, expansion of 6 bus driver contracts to full-time to support cleaning and contact tracing, 8 Dimensions of Wellness class offerings, maintenance of the COVID-19 data dashboard, and the addition of 3 social workers, which now outfits every school with this invaluable resource. Finally, Goal 4, organizational effectiveness. Use of the air quality study findings to begin multi-year HVAC projects, the rollout of School Messenger, a robust communications platform, students' continued access to free breakfast and lunch, and a school board committed to continuous improvement, earning the designation of Master Board through VSBA. These artifacts serve as visible evidence of the school division's focused commitment to people, process, performance, and are supported by a strong needs-based annual budget. You contextually understand the CCPS budget process, our intentional budget alignment with strategic plan, and the resulting successes and achievements. Now, Mrs. Marcia Stevens will turn our attention to a state budget update that directly relates to the development of the FY23 proposed budget. Mrs. Stevens.
The governor's FY23 budget reflects the 2-year cycle known as the biennium. The FY23 budget represents year 1 of this 2-year cycle. Included within the governor's proposal is funding for 5 large educational priorities. The first is associated with significant increase in the basic aid add-on for at-risk funding. This budget initiative increases CCPS funds by $1 million. The Governor's Office and State Board of Education are continuing the multi-year efforts to enhance preschool access and services across the Commonwealth. Included in the FY23 budget is a per pupil increase from $7,655 to $8,359 for those students. To minimize the impact of the pandemic on school divisions' funding streams, the state has included 3 hold harmless measures: grocery tax, re-benchmarking, and sales tax. With over 50% of the schools across the Commonwealth built over 50 years ago, the governor has proposed a state construction fund for non-recurring construction, renovation, and technology purchases. The school division's preliminary funding totals $2.4 million and will be adjusted for the March 31st, 2022 enrollment. Funds not spent would be reallocated by the Board of Supervisors into FY24. The governor's final FY23 education proposal relates to increased employee compensation. Included in the proposed budget is a 5% compensation increase in both FY23 and FY24, effective July 1st of each of those years. The majority of state funding is provided to the school division based on the average daily membership, or ADM. ADM is the membership of a student from the first day of school until March 31st of each year. Based on rising ADM numbers, the reported fall membership, and the state's projected ADM, CCPS is adopting 4,089.85 for FY23 budget calculations. The school division monitors ADM on a monthly basis and will update the projections once the March 31st ADM is reported in April for the current fiscal year. The Local Composite Index, or LCI, is the calculation of a locality's true value of property, adjusted gross income, and taxable sales, retail sales. This formula determines the school's
the school locality's ability to pay educational costs related to K-12 education. As the LCI goes up, state funding goes down due to the locality's increased ability to pay. Caroline County's fiscal year 23 and 24 LCI is increasing from 35.53 to 36.13, a 1.69% increase. The LCI data input is being updated from 2017 to 2019 for this biennium budget. In total, the governor's proposed budget includes an additional $5.6 million in new funding due to increases in ADM, at-risk add-on, early intervention, early childhood, 5% compensation increases, hold harmless, and $2.4 million in the school construction funding. This $5.6 million increase has an additional required local match of $2.6 million. However, Caroline County currently exceeds the required local match. As a result, Caroline County will not need to contribute an additional $2.6 million for CCPS to fully access the $5.6 million increase. Dr. Calveric will now guide us through the fiscal year 23 budget priorities.
During preliminary phases of budget development, multiple advisory committees assisted with prioritizing the 59 budgetary requests submitted by the 5 comprehensive schools and departments. These items were sorted into 4 major categories: mandatory, critical need, needs, and wants. Priority data from each stakeholder group was aggregated, yielding the following 9 CCPS budget priorities: compensation, health insurance, 4 teaching FTEs, including special education, 2 career and technical education teachers, and 1 math coach, and 4 operations positions, including a director of finance, an HVAC technician, and 2 grounds people. Priority 1, employee compensation. Employee compensation is essential to attracting and retaining high-quality staff to support operations and instruction. In the midst of an employee critical shortage, compensation continues to be a national, state, and local priority. With 700 CCPS employees, the school division will outline the funding sources associated with the proposed $3,526,716 million compensation increase. To be competitive across the state and region, CCPS pay scales must demonstrate to current and future educators that our community values public education. As you can see, noted above on the slide, CCPS salaries continue to rank when looking at the 21-22 regional salary comparison, 14th out of 16 divisions for 0 and 5 years of experience when compared to Chesterfield, Culpeper, Essex, Fredericksburg, Goochland, Hanover, Henrico, King and Queen, King George, King William, Louisa, Orange, Richmond, Spotsylvania, and Stafford. Only Essex and King and Queen counties fall below our 0 years of experience salary. Noteworthy when comparing teachers with 5 years of experience, our teachers make less than teachers with 0 years of experience in 9 of the listed regional counties. While understanding our locality or location amongst our competitors, it is more essential to focus on the fact that compensation that is regionally competitive supports recruitment and retention. This historical overview of the school division's annual compensation proposals and local and state funding outcomes provides a high-level overview of the related impact upon our starting teacher salary. In alignment with our ongoing commitment to achieving regionally competitive salaries for all employee groups, the FY23 compensation proposal reflects significant investment in people. We believe that the anticipated influx of state funding, barring any unforeseen changes in the current General Assembly session, will enable the school division, with no additional local money, to support a 7% salary increase for all employees. The cost of a 7% increase is $2,393,407. To further address the national critical shortage and the growing need to be regionally competitive, CCPS is requesting an additional 3% COLA increase to be funded by the local government. The cost associated with a 3% COLA for all CCPS employees is $1,133,309. Collectively, a 10% raise would equate to a starting teacher's salary for 0 years of experience and a bachelor's degree of $47,123. Let us visually demonstrate the positive impact a 10% raise would have upon the recruitment and retention of high-quality staff. Maintaining the same recruitment competitors as previously demonstrated, this line graph documents the impact a 7% raise versus a 10% raise has upon Caroline County Public Schools recruitment efforts. More specifically, assuming that all of our neighboring competitors provide the governor-supported 5% raise, a 7% raise by Caroline County maintains our current placement in the region of 14th out of 16, only above Essex and King and Queen. However, a 10% increase begins moving the needle and places CCPS 12th of 16. More importantly, our starting salary moves to $47,123, which places us ahead of not only Essex and King and Queen, but some of our greatest recruitment competitors such as King George and Fredericksburg City. Additionally, it puts us within a few $100s of Spotsylvania's starting salary, all of whom are major competitors for recruitment. Priority 2, health insurance premium renewal. CCPS understands the importance of an attractive total compensation package when recruiting and retaining staff. CCPS will continue to participate in Virginia's Local Choice, which serves healthcare needs of local governments and school systems across the Commonwealth. While our annual health data reflects significant variability in insurance costs, our 7-year average of 6.78 demonstrates that we are well within the national trend for annual insurance increases, which tends to fall between 8 to 10%. While final rate plan rates will not become available until late February, early March, CCPS is utilizing current claims data to project an 8% increase for FY23. The impact on employer and employee contributions will be identified upon receipt of the final premium adjustment. However, CCPS is setting aside $460,644 to defray costs. New human resources, totaling $604,761. Our greatest resource is our employee base. As division needs identified and initiatives are implemented, CCPS diligently reevaluates current staffing to determine the need for the reduction or addition of positions. The following FY23 full-time equivalent positions address both instructional and operational priorities. Additionally, positions funded by pandemic grant funds which expire in either 2022, 2023, or 2024 will be shared to heighten collective awareness of the need to further develop sustainability plans and recurring funding streams as these one-time funds are expended. 4 instructional positions and 4 operations positions have been prioritized in the FY23 budget. Specifically, a second behavioral support program special education teacher is needed at the elementary level to remain compliant with caseload requirements and provide appropriate levels of service and support to students with special needs. 2 career and technical education teachers have been identified, one for CMS and one for CHS. The middle school expansion will provide greater elective offerings and build a CTE pathway to an existing Caroline High School CTE program. The secondary CTE FTE has been earmarked for a cybersecurity program. We are elated to begin the development of the CT offering in partnership with Germana and supported by a Go Virginia grant. While pre-pandemic data did not indicate a need for a math coach at Lewis and Clark Elementary School, current assessment results demonstrate the need for an additional math coach, one to join the Grizzly team. Upon the addition of this position, each Caroline County Public School elementary school will be outfitted with 2 reading specialists and 1 math coach. Operationally, the Finance Department is currently operating without any supervisor or director position. The addition of Director of Finance will build capacity in the organization and support daily operations, as well as an increased workload associated with increasing state revenues, pandemic grant funds, and reporting requirements. With approximately $3.5 million of pandemic grant funds earmarked for HVAC improvements, a second HVAC technician will be essential to project oversight and long-term maintenance. Similarly, CCPS has 1 full-time grounds employee. 2 additional grounds employees are being proposed to support grounds maintenance and care of athletic fields. It is important to note the position costs outlined above are reflective of the total benefits package, which includes salary, health insurance, disability insurance, and VRS contributions. Additionally, barring any unforeseen adjustments to the state funding by the General Assembly, the positions have been built into the baseline budget and require no new money from the locality. Pandemic grant funded positions, $1,180,005. While the aforementioned positions have been built into the division's operations budget, it is critical to outline approximately 17 positions currently funded by one-time pandemic grant funds which expire in totality in 2024. These positions will be included in the FY23 and FY24 budget presentations as placeholders to heighten collective awareness of the need to work collaboratively to develop sustainability plans beyond 2024. Each position is continuously reviewed to verify impact and validate the need to identify recurring funding streams as these one-time funds are expended through 2024. School divisions across the nation and Commonwealth have received a variety of federal grant funds since COVID's inception in March 2020. To date, CCPS has been awarded $11,038,150.08 in total grant monies. The CARES grant, totaling $740,347.23, provided funding strategically focused on mitigation strategies and ensuring facilities were clean and safe to welcome students back after several months of the March 2020 school closure. The CRRSA ESSER 2 grant of $2,835,980.18 is earmarked for HVAC work, instructional support, materials and supplies, and a small portion for continued mitigation. The ARP ESSER 3 grant allocated $6,373,731.97 to CCPS with the goals of supporting additional staffing positions, HVAC work, summer programming, virtual instruction needs, and professional development. The ESSER Gear competitive grant afforded Virginia school divisions with the opportunity to apply for funding in 9 specific areas. CCPS was eligible for 8 out of the 9 categories and submitted applications and successfully received funding in every category, including food services, cleaning supplies, facility upgrades, technology, summer academy, social emotional learning, and special education. The total from the 8 awards was $272,181.70. And finally, the CSL FRF grant, which is solely for the replacement or improvement of HVAC systems, was awarded to CCPS in the amount of $815,909. Following each grant's specific timeline and detailed spending parameters, CCPS has worked collaboratively with community stakeholders, advisory groups, and CCPS leadership to identify top priorities for the pandemic relief funds. The categorical spending outlined above documents approximately $5.2 million dedicated to air quality improvements through HVAC upgrades and replacements. Approximately $1.5 million to instructional materials and resources such as Virtual Virginia, professional development, and increased technology devices such as Chromebooks, iPads, and MiFis. Approximately $210,000 funded other needs such as school bus air quality and climate upgrades and COVID mitigation materials related to the conversion of indoor events to outdoor functions such as the high school graduation ceremony. Personnel costs absorb approximately $4.2 million of funding to address unfinished learning, also termed learning loss. All costs associated with these positions can be carried through the 23-24 school year. However, as previously indicated, will require collaborative efforts between the school division, local government, and state to identify a sustainability plan supported by recurring funds. Positions associated with these monies that are currently funded through ARP and ESSER address unfinished learning, support parental engagement, and enhance social emotional learning and access to resources. As noted, these include 5 class size reduction teachers, 2 special education teachers, 4 family engagement coordinators, a history specialist, a coordinator of virtual learning and innovation, a variety of support staff, including lunch buddies, intervention supports, technology aid, and a procurement specialist. Again, while there's no immediate impact upon the FY23 budget, these positions will require ongoing conversation as funds expire in 2024. The total of the FY23 budget priorities is $4,592,121. This total reflects $1,133,309 of new local monies for a 3% COLA and $3,458,812 of new state funds and CCPS operations budget to support the 7% salary COLA, health insurance premium increase, and 8 new instruction and operations positions. We've outlined the sources of increased state money and our proposed priorities. What does this all mean in relation to revenues and expenditures? Mrs. Stevens.
It's essential to review revenues by source to identify potential revenue gaps in a school division's annual needs-based budget. As previously noted, state revenues are projected to increase by $5.6 million, barring no unexpected changes by the General Assembly. Should no local operational increase be received, the CCPS fiscal year 23 proposed operating budget will have a revenue gap of $1,063,150. The expenditures by category displays how the school division's revenues will be spent during fiscal year 23. The noted expenses reflect all CCPS budget priorities, including the additional county support of $1,063,150 to close the revenue gap. In addition to the operating funds, the special grant fund, textbooks, and food service funds have been adjusted based on estimated projected revenues. The special grant funds is seeing a $0.4 million increase due to additional federal coronavirus relief funds. Funds are to be used no later than September 30, 2024. The textbook funds amounts have been adjusted based on the state calculations for the textbooks utilizing the updated ADM. In full consideration of increased state funding, the school division's needs-based budget and the projected revenues and expenses, CCPS will request an additional $1,063,150 from the locality to close the revenue gap and support a 3% COLA for all 700 CCPS employees.
Dr. Calveric will now review our next steps.
We encourage continued education, awareness, and advocacy of all CCPS and Caroline stakeholders as we proceed through the budget season. Tomorrow evening, CCPS will present the school board approved budget to the Board of Supervisors. On Thursday, February 24th, the Planning Commission will hold the public hearing for capital improvement plans. On Tuesday, March 8th, the county administrator will present his proposed budget at the Board of Supervisors meeting. And on Tuesday, April 12th, the county will hold the FY23 budget public hearing. Thank you for your attention and consideration of the school division's FY23 budget proposal. At this time, we are happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Questions? I have one question. I know that we have an approved budget, but conversation has been about barring any unforeseen changes. And so for the sake of the public, can you talk a little bit about how we are monitoring what's going on in the General Assembly in anticipation of any changes?
Yes, thank you so much. There are a number of educational entities across the Commonwealth that our senior staff members are affiliated with. So on a daily basis, we receive updates from Virginia School Board Association, Virginia Association of School Superintendents. I receive an update from the Rural School Coalition. Mrs. Stevens receives an update from the VASBO affiliate. And so we are constantly cross-referencing that information and teasing out what the potential impact may be if a General Assembly legislative law is supportive of schools or may ultimately pull away funding that we are anticipating. What we do when we're monitoring those is we become engaged in lobbying. And so we reach out to our local government, we've reached out to various civic organizations, and internally we craft letters to our local legislators and submit those on behalf of the school division and the school board, indicating our support or opposition of different laws that are being viewed currently from the General Assembly. Crossover is scheduled to happen, I believe, within the next week or so. And so that is really where the rubber meets the road. While one bill may survive on one side of the House, it then needs to have teeth in the second viewing. So we will continue to keep all of our school board members abreast of those changes. But our fingers and toes are crossed with confidence in that the pots of money that we've outlined that are recurring and support the 8 positions, the health insurance money, and the 7% compensation from the school division, we are very confident in those pots of money as those carried forward from Northam and were embraced also by Yunkin.
Thank you. I think that insight is important as we're approving a proposed budget. And so this is listed for an action item tonight. Not seeing any other questions from the board. Is someone willing to make a motion?
So moved.
So the motion on the floor provided by Mr. Kelly, second by Mrs. Carson, is to approve the FY23 proposed operational budget. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask that the clerk please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll move right along to our new business. We have one item for new business tonight. I ask that Mrs. Haley would please come forward and present us with the 2022-2023 CCPS instructional calendar first read.
Great evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is a pleasure to share the proposed CCPS instructional calendar for the 2022-23 school year. This evening's presentation will include a visual of the proposed instructional calendar, recognition of all calendar committee members, and overview of the calendar creation process and timeline, survey results, instructional highlights, and benefits. I would like to kindly thank the members of the calendar committee for their gift of time and collaboration. We had teachers, administrators, principals, PTA members, parents, school board office representation, and 2 school board members on the committee. We received feedback from numerous stakeholder groups and superintendent committees, such as our pastor advisory, parent advisory, school support staff and teacher advisories, athletic and business advisory, and senior staff. I would like to publicly thank Ms. Casey Luck, as she has also been a statistician who frequently consulted with Melanie Terrell in making sure seat hours and calendar co-align to all state mandates and the Virginia Department of Education requirements. Huge thanks to you all. Now I would like to walk you through a high-level overview of the collaborative calendar process that led to a proposed calendar supportive of the division's mission and goals. In October, a diverse and well-balanced committee with representation from all schools and magisterial districts, was formed. We held our first meeting on November 4th, where we drafted 2 instructional calendars for stakeholder review. In December, we opened the survey and collected feedback on the 2 calendar drafts from advisory groups, employees, and other stakeholders. At the close of the survey window in December, data was collected and comments were reviewed in preparation for the next calendar committee meeting. On January 13th, the committee reconvened to review the survey responses with the goal to create a draft calendar to present for first reading this evening in hopes that the calendar will be approved upon second read at the March school board meeting. In addition to the meeting with advisory groups, the 3-week survey window provided a plethora of feedback from 706 respondents and 101 comments. We then coded all feedback into 4 categories: school opening, school start times / virtual school, holidays, work and professional days. Based on the 62% that favored calendar draft A and the 101 comments, the committee developed the following calendar that we believe honors the voices and supports high-quality teaching and learning. Let's take a look at the proposed calendar. The full year is captured on the screen before you, with July through December on the left and January through June on the right side. We are excited to extend the new teacher work week, August 2nd through 4th, by 1 day to allow more time for training, classroom setup, and to experience new learning while acclimating new hires to the #OneCarolineWay. The 1-day extension will also allow new teachers to meet and partner with their teacher mentors 2 out of the 4 days. Other key highlights include Monday, August 15th, the first day of school. At the end of each quarter, there are teacher work days to work on grades and report card comments and time for planning, remediation, and enrichment lessons. Winter break will include 3 weekends during the 2-week period, and January 2nd is designated as an employee workday to ensure all systems are a go for food service to maintenance for a successful return of our students on January 3rd. Spring break is identified as April 3rd through Monday, April 10th. The Monday follows Easter Sunday. And coming into the home stretch, the last day of school is Friday, May 26th. Kudos to the committee for making all of this happen while still achieving the acquired 140 seat hours and banked instructional days. Our instructional day for 2022-23 school year will be as follows. Middle school start time of 7:25 a.m. to 2:25 p.m. dismissal. High school, 7:30 a.m. to 2:35 p.m. And elementary schools, 8:45 a.m. start to 3:30 p.m. dismissal times. Other proposed calendar highlights include 3 makeup days for inclement weather, October 17th, February 20th, and March 10th. We have 2 parent-teacher conference dates, October 13th for the first semester for elementary and secondary, and during the second semester, the secondary conferences will be held on February 9th, while the elementary parent conferences are on March 2nd. We have learned extended time is needed at the elementary level to allow for the developmental abilities of our students to flourish even more so, and teachers for the opportunity to communicate the comprehensive growth demonstrated over more than half of the school year. During the January 13th meeting, the Calendar Committee solidified instructional hours, division and building professional development, and work days. The Department of Education requires 180 instructional days, or 990 instructional hours. Based on the proposed calendar, we will exceed the 990 instructional hours. To support high-quality teaching and learning, we have 175 instructional days that allow us to meet the 140 seat hours needed for students to earn their verified credits for on-time graduation. Professional development days. The first and second semester each has 1 full day for Division PD, where secondary will engage with the division leadership and instructional specialists in professional development in the morning and elementary in the afternoon. The other half of a day is for building level professional development at each of those levels. The fall PD day is October 17th, and the spring day is February 17th. This will also be a great opportunity to calibrate and measure how we are doing in the year 1 implementation of our new strategic plan. In regards to work days, we begin our contractual year with 4 days for new Teacher Academy, followed by a 5-day teacher work week. During the year, we have 4 teacher work days, October 14th, January 2nd, March 10th, and May 26th. These dates are immediately following the end of the instructional quarter for teachers to finalize grade books, work on report card comments, and time for planning further how to meet the diverse needs within the classroom. The benefits of the proposed instructional calendar are as follows. The 175 instructional day calendar will allow us to maintain the shortened day enacted in 2021 for our elementary students. It meets the state mandates of 990 required teaching hours and the 140 seat hours per course for high school verified credit. The 2 weeks for winter break includes 3 weekends, and 3 days for Thanksgiving break are intact, with a consistent spring break in April that extends to the Monday after Easter. In reference to the September 2nd holiday, all school divisions that have pre-Labor Day start are mandated to have the Friday off before Labor Day weekend. A pre-Labor Day start allows our students to focus to learning while being better prepared for local, state, and national assessments, performance adjudications, and extracurricular competitions. The proposed instructional calendar supports high-quality teaching and learning, and we are so excited about the opportunities to once again positively impact every child's achievement. On behalf of Dr. Monroe, who led this calendar process, we thank all the committee members and the stakeholders who contributed to the development of this calendar proposal for tonight's first reading. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the board on the calendar?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
And first of all, thank you so much for your hard work. And I'm not in opposition to the calendar. One of the questions that I have heard over and over again, and I don't know if the committee thought about this or not, or talked about this, but we have an early start time for high school and middle school. I think it's like 7:25 and 7:30. And during the wintertime, we have inclement weather. And our buses are on the road very early. Since we're in a rural community, many of our buses are out on the road at 5:30 in the morning, and it's still dark. And some of the comments that have been made that I've heard from parents are that, we can't really do too much with 2-hour delay in many instances, because in many instances the roads aren't a whole lot better at 7:30 than they were at 5:30. But maybe if we had a later start time, then maybe we could use the 2-hour delay sometimes a little bit more. Now, I'm sure that would create another issue, because whenever you change something, you mess up something somewhere else. But the only reason I brought that up was because, if that's something that's been talked about, I'm sure there's a reason for the early start date. So I'm not saying that we should change that. I just thought it would be something good for discussion, so parents would know why we are doing this, this early start time, and why that, is an advantage, and maybe why putting it to a later time may solve one problem, but it may create another problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. The committee did look at that. They were concerned there. There were definitely some suggestions that were brought forth. I do believe in the past we've looked at that same scenario, and so we'll continue to keep that in the forefront of the committee's agenda. Thank you.
Any other questions on the calendar committee? All right, hearing none, thank you, Ms. Haley. That is our first read. This will come back to us as an action item in March, correct? Okay. At this time, I will open the floor for board committee reports and comments. It is my general habit to start to the right here. Mr. Taylor, do you have any board comments or committee reports this evening?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spalding, any?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Mrs. Carson?
Yes, I have quite a couple of them. The CEF, we were so thankful to have the 8 grants that we were able to do, and we are still looking for business partners or people who would like to join our committee. We're always looking for more people and would love to. We only meet quarterly, so if you would like any more information about that committee, it was started back in 2007, 11, or 2012. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we're a small group, but we love to make donations and to worthy causes and grants. So this is like the 6th year I think we've made grant awards, and this was the fewest number we've ever granted. So usually we have like 14 or so. But with COVID, I think it was just not enough time for people to do it. And our athletics and basketball have been doing really well. This upcoming week is the last week, and Friday night, if you all want to come out and support the boys JV and varsity, we're playing JM, last home game. We were privy to being part of the legislative conference on policies and changes that came about And we did it, most of us did it virtually. Jawanda got to go publicly, but it was very interesting to hear about what's coming down the pike. And the gentleman that's in charge of giving us the highlights of it always is very accurate. He's also on Channel 12 saying the same things. It was a privilege to get to go to the Lotus Academy grand ribbon cutting ceremony. It was lovely. It was just lovely. The students did a wonderful job. Ms. Keener did a wonderful job, and it made your heart feel good about what's going on in that school and that we are able to be using that again. I had the privilege of meeting our new football coach at one of the basketball games, and I feel very lucky to have him. And he's so excited to be here and is getting his feet wet and being in the schools and going around. I'm also on the steering committee, and we've had 4 meetings so far, and we are really getting the strategic plan going and breaking it down and working really hard on that. So we're moving forward to getting the strategic plan ready, and the calendar committee that we just finished up in. So we've worked, it's been a very busy time, so thank you. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Swanton, do you have any board comments this evening?
Excuse me. I just wanted to quickly touch on wrestling. We are on our last 2 weeks of the season. This Saturday will be regionals for us, and next Friday and Saturday will be states.
Outstanding. I'm making a note here. So we will be cheering our wrestling team on. Happen to know that we have become a force to reckon with in that sport. So I'm looking forward to the update on that. I'll now turn to our Vice Chair, Mr. Sean Kelly, for his comments.
Thank you. First of all, committee reports, as Ms. Carson mentioned, we serve on the calendar committee together, and we did that virtually, which was nice. A lot of people working on that one and a lot of ideas coming out, and it's great. It's a great way because we all just throw everything out there and something sticks, something doesn't. I'm also on the Gifted Advisory Committee, and I'd like to thank Jen Grigsby for showing up and helping with that. I work in the Commonwealth Governor School, and she's the director of Commonwealth Governor School, and she came in and talked about some of the things that we do to help identify historically underrepresented populations in the gifted community, which was nice. I wish I could have been there for that, but I was not able to go to that because I was part of the VSBA, the Legislative Advocacy, and then the next day I went to the new vice chair, that thing, Robert's Rules of Order. And I just want to say, school board members, and Dr. Rollins-Fells can attest to this, Gina got up and said, I serve 135 great school divisions in the state, but let me tell you, the Caroline County School Board is exceptional in their abilities to provide leadership for them. That was nice for us to sit there, and then she made the mistake of calling on me and asking me to speak, and I just had to remind everybody that we are number one, and I have the coffee mug to prove it. On Friday, for the first time in school history, yes, I did, we've only had a swim team for, I think, my daughter is a senior, and she was a student manager on that team when she was in 7th grade. The boys team has never, ever won a swim meet, and the girls team has won, I think, twice before. Friday night was the first time that both the girls and the boys were able to win a swim meet against Easterview. It was fantastic. I would also like to thank Ooh La La and Pizzazz Hair Studio and EM Dodgers for their support of the team and providing us with some much-needed financial revenue and their donations, which was great. And I'd like to thank the YMCA for hosting the event. I don't think many people realize that we have a lot of volunteers and stuff for everything, for every sport, but swimming is just incredible. That staff stays over an hour after the meet. It's about a 2-hour meet, and that staff stays there for an hour helping to clean up. So I think everybody should thank the YMCA, and everybody should be a member of the YMCA. Lisa Stevens, you're absolutely awesome. You are the fuel that keeps this machine going. I'd like to thank, we have a tremendous shortage of bus drivers, and we have districts tomorrow for the swim team. We were not going to go because we did not have a bus driver. It's one thing to get one for after-school activities. It's completely different to say, we need one to drive us tomorrow. Neely Ryan is stepping up. She works in another division. She has worked here. She's still on record. I'd like to thank her for doing it. And lastly, and probably, well, next to last, but most important, the CMS Town Hall is Thursday night, and I strongly encourage all the school board members to show up for that. And the last thing, our staff deserves a 10% pay raise, and we need to be advocates for that with the Board of Supervisors moving forward. We need to let them know that we are in a very, very unique position in regards to state funding. I'm going to try to be careful with how I say this, and in the way surrounding school divisions, their boards, let's just say, are not as highly recognized as this one. We're in a very unique position where we can attract and retain some great staff members and keep what we have. So we need to be advocates with the Board of Supervisors in regards to getting what we deserve for our staff and providing the service necessary for our students. Madam Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. In full transparency, he absolutely did say that at the VSBA state conference with all the other school boards there, just supporting that Gina was right. So just know that he did represent. My comments for this evening, in terms of my board committee updates, I wanted to thank Mrs. Keener again for the beautiful ribbon cutting at Lotus, and thank you for inviting me to be your keynote speaker, where I spoke about overcoming obstacles, building resilience, and empowering learners. That had to be probably the most significant event of my entire year, being in the presence of those students and to see them coming in this evening with so much excitement and respect. So please make sure that you share that. March the 9th, the Virginia School Board Association will have our Eastern Region meeting. Mrs. Stevens has already registered everyone from this board. We will be having a special presentation by none other than Dr. Sarah Calveric at that regional meeting with 15 other school boards. We will have J.T. Kessler, who will be providing us with a legislative update, and a representative from VPOS speaking with us about meaningful after-school activities and wraparound services. On January the 24th, I had the opportunity to attend with Dr. Calveric in person while the remainder board members met here locally, the VSBA Capital Conference. One of the keynote speakers at that conference was indeed the Secretary of Education. That meeting happened on Monday, so it was really good to be in a timely presence where questions could be asked and answered in that forum. The following day, January the 25th, Mr. Kelly and I did attend the new board chair and vice chair meeting, where I then presented a training to all newly elected school board members, a presentation on parliamentary procedure that was part of their required training. So in board governance, how to run a meeting. With our legislative updates, as you all know, I serve as the Eastern Region Chair. Each Wednesday this month, we will have legislative meetings with JT and the staff with VSBA, who will be tracking the crossover and the status of different House and Senate bills. I will keep you posted if there's any additional items that we need to bring to the attention of the entire board. I think that is it. I also wanted to just say, in recognition of Black History Month, that we do indeed honor the contributions of all African Americans across all industries and facets of life. A quote to leave you with this evening is that my humanity is bound up in yours, and we can only be human together. It is with great pride that we approve the transportation compensation this evening and the proposed budget with a 10% raise for our faculty and staff. That's just how we do it here in Caroline County, being the School Board of the Year and the Master Board and the Board of Distinction. And yes, I said it because we take the hits when it's hard, so we're going to celebrate when it's good. That concludes my board comments, and at this time, I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins-Fells. We are so excited to celebrate the CCPS school counselors this week during National School Counseling Week 2022. The theme is School Counseling Better Together. They certainly make a tremendous impact in helping our students achieve school success and planning for a career. And we'll be honoring our fantastic school counselors each day this week on Facebook, so be sure to check out the special ways to acknowledge their work. Also, preschool registration begins on February 22nd, so be sure to get our youngest learners registered. There's a flyer out on our Facebook page for more detailed information. Mrs. Andrea Ross, our VASCD Impact Leader for 2022, also coordinates preschool registration, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Central Office and speak directly with her and her staff. The Winter Olympics have begun in Beijing, and we continue to cheer on our USA athletes. I also want to cheer on all of our students participating in Caroline County Public School winter sports and their hard work and determination. The swim team, girls and boys basketball, wrestling, indoor track, cheer. We appreciate all of the hard work and diligence that you commit to your passion. We are excited about our continued partnership with the Caroline NAACP. Not only were we able to attend a fabulous Martin Luther King event, but also we are engaging in a partnership associated with the Black History Month essay sponsored by the Caroline NAACP. So our middle and high school students will have an opportunity to submit their tremendous work. Also, in support of a local community effort from the Caroline Ruritan Club, we have a number of staff members joining in the Polar Bear Plunge this Saturday at Lake Landor. So if you are a plunger, good luck to you, and we will say lots of prayers and well wishes that the temperature will be favorable. At this time, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Calveric. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to move into closed session for the purposes of the superintendent's personnel agenda for the discussion of appointments, reassignments, retirements, resignations, corrections, leave of absence, building update, request for family medical leave, stipend, coaches, as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, as well as our continuation with our designation as master board for the upcoming year.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. We will now move into closed session. Thank you for those of you who have attended here in person and those who have joined us online. Have a good evening. Safe travels.